Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance Simply Reds podcast. My name is Reuben, and I'm joined by Louie. You all right, Louie?
Good evening, Reuben. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. Well, we're currently having lots of technical issues this week, so hopefully we'll actually be able to send out this podcast for you all to listen and watch. But I mean, yeah, it's been a bit of a ropey start so far for Crawley Town. Probably not the start that fans would have predicted or wanted. Um, but hopefully, after the result against MK, things will start to kind of be on the up. But I know it's been a few weeks since we last done one of these, and so we'll just briefly touch on the previous games and kind of dive deeper into the MK game a bit more. But we played Newport. We lost 2-1, first home game of the season. And yeah, it was a game where I think people thought we should have won or could have won, kind of going up into the game. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I mean, I think we said in the last podcast that Newport are probably one of the ones that people be placing towards the bottom of the table rather than towards the top. And so to not come away with any points from that game was a bit disappointing, don't you think, Louis?
Really disappointing, particularly because Newport were not very good at all. They were fairly organised. They didn't have to be too organised to keep us at bay. But we didn't really create much. We looked very unbalanced. We looked slow, sluggish. It was a fractional improvement on the Grimsby game. We were marginally better, but I don't think that was down to us improving. I think it was purely down to playing a much worse team compared to Grimsby. Not really many positives to take out of that, to be honest. Max Hansen's goal didn't really mean anything in the end, so even that's kind of, that didn't really mean a lot. It didn't really lighten my spirits or give me any optimism. It wasn't as if it came from a particularly good bit of pressure or a good bit of play or any sustained sort of period of dominance. It was we looked like we didn't have many ideas against Newport, so I think it's a performance that hopefully we can forget very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, we were unlucky not to score almost final kick of the game, really, with Jack Rolls' attempt that kind of swerved away from the goalpost, unfortunately. Because I mean, yeah, had we have got a point in that game, had Jack been able to have scored, I think a lot of Crawley fans would have been like, if I was a Newport fan, I would have felt absolutely cheated from it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one actually, I'm going to contradict myself slightly. The one positive from the game was Adi Adiemo, who, particularly in the first half, was really bright, had a couple of opportunities where he did test the keeper. On another day, one of them might have gone in, and we would have been perhaps, we would have got a point. And if we'd have got a point, we probably would have gone maybe just about deserved it. But I think the context of the game is always really important when you're looking back at it. And we were playing at home against a Newport side that I'd be surprised if they finish any higher than sort of 21st, really. And so to not, we, on the balance of things, we created some chances in the first half. We could have scored, we could have gone ahead in the game, but the standard has to be a lot higher than that, and it was frustrating to see that we didn't really look at the races in the way that we should have.
Yeah, I don't want to dive too much into the game, but there was one incident that happened during the game where there was a fan in the West Stand who I think shouted "Take him off," aimed at Harry McCurdy, and Scott turned round to the fan and said "Shut up." What are your thoughts on being at the game and almost not supporting the players and saying stuff like "Take him off"?
I think I I kind of see it from both sides, which is probably a pretty boring answer, but I do think
You can't sit on the fence.
I'm afraid that's kind of what I do best sometimes. I from a fan's perspective, I think you pay your money, you care a lot about, you pay good money to go to football. Pretty good value if you're a Crawley fan in terms of our season ticket prices and whatever. But you pay your money, your hard-earned money. You go every other week or every week. You go home and away. I think not an entitlement, because I don't like when fans are entitled, but I think you do have a right to express frustration if players aren't performing and aren't pulling their weight. I don't think you could accuse McCurdy of not trying so far this season, but I think I will come on to the MK game, but I think up until Tuesday it hadn't quite clicked for him. It hadn't really looked at home in a Crawley shirt, and I can understand the frustration, because I think, rightly or wrongly, people's expectations were pretty high going into the season, and I think it's obviously very quickly punctured. Um, it's been very quickly punctured, kind of that bubble of expectation, but I think that frustration was starting to brew a little bit, and I think when you're looking, and I think when it's perceived that Scott perhaps has one or two of his favourite players like Reece Brown or Harry McCurdy, Dion Conroy as well, if they're not performing, it's seen a little bit differently to perhaps say if Josh Flint wasn't performing, or if Louis Watson wasn't performing, because I feel like there's almost perhaps this idea that those players can, doesn't matter how well they play or how badly they play, they'll probably be in the team or in the squad for the next game. Doesn't So I think I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see where it comes from. On the flip side, I think I can understand why Scott, any manager is going to be protective of their players, and so I can understand Scott's frustration kind of boiling over. Probably not a good look to be having a go at fans. He was, at the end of the game, he had a go at someone in the terrace. I won't repeat what he said, but you can probably imagine it wasn't the politest of retorts to whatever the fan was saying or gesturing. I don't know what he was actually responding to, but yeah, it's not ideal. It's not an ideal environment, and if it wasn't Scott, and if it wasn't Scott in charge, I feel like the mood could have probably got a lot worse. In terms of, if that was another manager, I don't know if the fans would be quite as forgiving. But it's Scott, and he kind of walks on water when he's as far as Crawley fans are concerned, which probably allows him to get away with biting back a little bit at some comments.
Yeah. So then, kind of moving away from Newport, then, although sticking with the Welsh theme, we then travelled to Swansea in the cup, where we ended up losing 3-1. Shamanga scoring his first goal for Crawley, and Gavan Houlihan getting sent off. I
Yeah,
think people were going into that game thinking it's going to be a bad on this. And I think 3-1, lots of not a lot. So a number of Crawley fans actually at the game who weren't particularly happy at half time and in the first half. But I mean, when you're going to a championship squad who have got players who are worth like millions, like I've just looked here, one of the guys is worth 3.5 million. Um, you're to only be 1-0 down. It should be pretty. You should be pleased with that. Um,
yeah. I felt like, the reaction to that game was kind of strange. I thought we held our own quite well. It was we got back into the game. We were 2-0 down. Got back into the game for a really nicely worked goal, and I thought Shamanga. At first, I thought he'd kind of stumbled into net, but he actually sorts his feet out and taps it in quite nice. He does quite well to actually sort his feet out there for the goal. And then we were really pressing. We really improved. Like the second half, we were pretty good, and even with 10 men, we kind of gave it a go as well. It was a silly challenge from Holohan, and kind of just I thought it was a red card. I can't really have any complaints with it. I think if you're going away to a championship side in the League Cup, it was a fairly strong Swansea side as well. It wasn't their first choice 11, but they had probably 5, maybe 6 of them would have started the following weekend for Swansea. I've expected. I've not checked that, so don't hold me to that necessarily. But yeah, I thought it was a respectable performance, and considering how poor we've been in the first 2 games, some of the reaction confused me a little bit. People saying how poor we were, and it's a disgrace, and it's really worrying. And let's be honest, our season's not going to be defined by a round 1 League Cup exit. We've had some really nice League Cup runs in the past, and it's always a nice sort of bonus to have a cup run. We know that as well as anyone as Crawley fans, but the focus is on the league, and it doesn't define our season. And I think probably one that we can kind of write off. And Yeah, we gave him a real good go. Again, Adiemo caused some problems down the right. I thought Louis Flower looked really lively when he came on and he got the assist. And yeah, you can't really read too much into it either. It's one of those where you think you sort of write it off. Really, it was a respectable performance. We're out of the cup. Move on. It's a
Yeah.
shame, but it doesn't define our season.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason why it was 3-1 was because at the end, Crawley's got flow attacking, and
Yeah,
then that's why
yeah,
Swansea were able to score in that 94th minute or whenever it was.
yeah. The game state and the context of 3-1 defeat doesn't look great on paper, but that game state and that context is important. I think people
Yeah.
sometimes forget that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, it was a great evening. Good day out, traveling over to Swansea, new ground. And so for those fans, people listening that haven't been to an away game that want to go to an away game, and you don't quite you don't know on to go with, we want to find out how to do it, then do get in touch with us. We'll be able to point you in the right direction, whether it's using GH coaches or whether it's going via train. There's so many ways that you can get to away games now, and it's a good experience.
Yeah, and
No matter the result, a few pints drunk.
sometimes, sometimes in spite of the result.
Yeah. The only downside of Swansea was Pop World was shut.
Oh, I know you were absolutely devastated about that.
The only reason why I went Pop
Yeah,
World.
if it wasn't for the football.
No, it wasn't at all. So away from the cup, then we then went and travelled up to our playoff final friends at Crewe, where we lost 1-0 in the 23rd minute. Goal from a guy called
Tommy
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly, yeah, very highly thought of Aston Villa midfielder, I believe.
Um, and yeah, then it was we just didn't really ever look like scoring, to be fair, and it was a pretty poor game.
Yeah, and we could have, by the time I feel like we sort of turned up for the last 20, maybe 25 minutes, coincided with when Dixon and Cashman came on, and we'll talk more about them as we move on in the podcast. But yeah, again, just a bit of a listless attacking performance, and we were probably lucky not to be 3 down by the time we did actually get into the game and start causing a threat. And I thought Scott's comments after the game, he was, if you don't mind me saying, he was a bit over the top in his praise. He thought we were a better team. He thought we deserved something from the game, and I can't agree with that. Really, I don't think anyone really who watched the game would have been that impressed with us. The caveat is that Crewe are a really strong side. They've won their first 4 games. They look like a side that will finish in the top 3. Their numbers are good. Their results are good. They've got the benefit of like a lot of continuity from the last couple of seasons. They've got some real quality, and so perhaps we need to take into context that we've gone away to a side that may well be in the top. It may well be title challengers if they carry on like this, and so. And with the context as well, that I think that squad's a little bit thin at the moment. We've only just had Cashman come back. We're still looking to get Dixon in on loan at the time, and he only just was signed in time to play. That nearly fell through, obviously, as Scott talked about. We're still looking to bring in 1 or 2 more players now. We've still got players out, like Holohan's obviously suspended. Whether he would have made much of a difference anyway, who knows? Obviously, Conroy was missing at Crewe. No Pereira. Cashman came off the bench. Dixon came off the bench. The squad felt a little bit lightweight and a little bit imbalanced, and it still does, to be honest. But I think it's obvious where we need to add, and I think that game probably exposed a few things. And sometimes you do just get beaten by a really, really good side, and that's probably what happened. And I mean, after the game, I was pretty frustrated and pretty despondent. I took to Twitter and was very negative about our prospects for the season. I still kind of am in a way, but I think now the dust has settled and we're another game on and a few days on from it. You probably sometimes it's not. I think people do forget, and I'm guilty of this. There's more than one side involved in a football match, and the opposition sometimes are just better than you, and sometimes it reflects in the way the game pans out, and that it doesn't make it it's not an excuse, but it's an explanation for why we just weren't particularly good at Crew. I think they're just better than us, and sometimes that happens, and we're probably not at full strength.
Yeah, I think it's worth bearing in mind that we've played Crew who are currently top, and there's only been 4 games. Crew that are currently top. We've played Grimsby who are second. We've played MK Dons who are fifth. Have only conceded 1 goal because of us. Newport. I think Newport's Newport. And so we've played teams that are probably going to be up there.
Yeah, that context is important. Yeah,
April, May next year. So it's been a tough start. And Swansea is a tough place to go. Good squad in the championship. So hopefully we can start to now build a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean we're out of the relegation zone.
Somehow. That's another thing. There are teams that are just as bad, if not a lot worse than us, and that's something that you've got to consider as well. Like Shrewsbury look an absolute mess. Notts County don't look great.
Cheltenham.
Newport themselves, Cheltenham. Yeah, there's other teams that we might be okay this season just by virtue, similar to a couple of years ago when we stayed up, when Hartlepool went down instead of us. We might just stay up by virtue of there being some really bad teams that just we're a little bit better than them. I mean, it's a long season. We may improve a lot. I hope we do. I really hope we do. And the signs are that we could, not necessarily guaranteed, but the signs are we could if we get a full strength squad and we're able to strengthen the squad and it's not looking as stretched. But yeah.
No, but I joke about relegation. I'm sure we'll absolutely be fine. And that kind of takes us on to the MK game, which I think shows us glimmers of hope.
Absolutely.
We're starting to bring in players and play players who have been out for all of the season, or we didn't have them originally, like the likes of Dixon. I mean, you saw Danny Cashman, who I thought looked really, really good on the ball, considering that was his first professional league game.
Quite possibly, yeah. I don't know.
I've always played before Worthing.
Yeah, I think it could well be. Yeah, would he have played in National League? But certainly it might well be his first EFL start.
He played for Walsall. He played 7 games for them, and for Rochdale as well.
Okay, yeah.
But it's first one in a while. That'll be my words. And I thought he looked really good, really sharp. Put on some good passes as well. We had Dixon, who Jamaica international, who again I think put in a really good performance. I was a bit intrigued as to how Dixon and Shamanga were gonna kind of line up together, considering that they're both strikers. But yeah, it seems to work fairly well. And I think had you've offered me a 1-1 draw before the start of the game, I would have snapped your hand off and paid you about 250 quid. I mean, I think you were saying now, kind of Simply Red's WhatsApp group that just how petrified you were of this game and how much an embarrassment it could be.
Yeah, I to give some context as to how concerned I was going into the game, I put on a minus 2.5 handicap on MK Dons, which basically meant I thought MK Dons would win by 3 goals or more. So, and I only it was a free bet that I had, gamble responsibly and all that. But I was that confident that we'd just get absolutely battered, and like you said, Dixon looks really lively. He'll probably be disappointed he didn't take one of those 2 chances. He's clearly a little bit raw, but when he's got that ability to just pick the ball up in the middle of the pitch and turn and make quite good decisions and run at people. And I think that's what we were missing the first few games of the season. Kind of in the same way. And I think this might be a theme that I talk about for the next few minutes. If you look back at the squad that we had when we went up a couple of years ago, if you look at the player profiles and what Scott was asking them to do, he kind of looks like a Clyde Lawless replacement in terms of picking the ball up in the middle of the pitch, running at defenders, and he's just got license to shoot and make things happen and lay up and create stuff, create chances. It's kind of, if he can stay fit and if he can get run of games, and as he learns and as he matures as a player, it's quite exciting to think what he could become this season. In the same way that with Clyde Lawless, it took a while for him to really stamp his authority on the team. But by the end of the season, he was probably our best player. So I think if you look at what Scott built then, and if you look at what he might be trying to do with the squad now, you can kind of see the pieces of it coming together. And if the players can, obviously it's a long season, but if the players can stay fit and can if he can replicate what he was trying to do. And in the same way, you mentioned Cashman, he was really, really good. And he's quite obviously a Jeremy Kelly replacement in terms of what Scott's asking him to do out on the left. Pick up the ball, drift inside, draw pressure, release a pass, so that we've suddenly got an overloaded midfield. It's you could on Tuesday night you could really see how the squad might come together if all goes well and if everyone stays fit and perhaps if we get again one or two more players in. But given how strong MK are, I thought it was a exceptional performance actually. To completely change my tone from the previous games, it was a really good performance. They hadn't conceded in 7 games, so this is their first goal they conceded under Paul Warne, I believe. That's a run that stretches back to the last season.
Yeah.
They only faced, I think, 3 shots on target before we played them, and we had 6 shots on target. So we've trebled their shots on target count for the season in one night. And what that tells you is no one else has caused them defensive problems in the same way that we did. And they couldn't handle. I'm going to again mention Adiemo. He's been probably our best player this season, and they could not handle him. He was absolutely sensational. Every time you got the ball, you just thought something's going to happen here, and it basically did. Something did nearly happen every time he got the ball, and he deserved his goal. Took it really nicely, and we stood up to a really physical team. Went toe to toe with them. They're a team that should win the league, whether they will, but they should. Not just the sheer amount of money they got. If they don't win the league, it's embarrassing. And we stood up to them. We went toe to toe with them, and I think we can see the difference that if we've got these, one or two of these players available, we suddenly look a much more balanced team. We look more like a Scott Lindsay team. And I was very, very proud of the performance actually. And I think I think a lot of us came away probably a little bit frustrated that we didn't take those chances, because we could have been 2 up by the time they did equalise. We kind of had to hold on towards the end. But we were good, really good value for a point. And I also want to mention it was probably Shimanga's best game as well. There was a lot of good individual performances, so I kind of feel like I want to go. It's been quite a negative start to the season, so I want to talk about the positives while we can. Shimanga, I thought it was his best game in a red shirt. He was holding the ball up well, looked lively, was running in behind on a couple of occasions. And considering, again, they've got massive defenders, and he won a lot of aerial balls. He really caused them. He didn't make it easy for him, and I thought the ball stuck to him, and we were able to get up the pitch in a way that we hadn't in previous few games. So that was a real positive. And I saw people criticising him, saying he played poorly, and I just thought, that was just he didn't get on the score sheet. He had 1 chance, which was blocks. I thought he had a really good game. So I wanted to give a quick mention to him. Harry McCurdy looks a lot more comfortable playing further up the pitch. Could have had an assist. Did get an assist. It wasn't necessarily intentional, but could have got another one where he got in behind down the left and cut it back. And yeah, I think if that lineup and if those players can settle in and kind of build some kind of cohesion, I think it's probably the best way to put it. Things might look a lot more positive, and there's so many positives to take from it. It was. I was pleased for Scott as well, because what I was thinking is we're going to get absolutely hammered tonight, and the MK fans, they're just going to be giving it to Scott all game. And I think the fact that we started quite positively probably shocked them a little bit. We gave them a bit of a bloody nose, took the lead just before our time, and we were good value for a point, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it had the ingredients to be quite a nasty match, couldn't it? I mean, you've got the Jay Williams, you've got the Scott Lindsay, you've got the playoffs, you've got all sorts of different ingredients that could have meant to have been just fights and all
Well, there
sorts.
was a bit of a scrap, wasn't there? I think it was in the second half when Cashman brought someone down on the counter, he got a yellow card for it, and it did kick off for 30
That's true.
seconds or so.
Very true.
And
I
I can
mean,
only imagine Jay Williams is absolutely gutted he wasn't on the pitch for it. Because he was standing in the dugout for the rest of the game, and you can almost just sense him just itching to run on, despite his hamstring, itching to run on and just get involved. But yeah,
yeah.
other than that, it was fairly. Well, it's quite a stop-start game. I don't know, Reuben, as someone who's dabbled in refereeing, I don't know what you made of the referee, but it was noticeable how stop-start the game was. I think it's the politest way.
I think with a game like that, of the potential of what it could be, the referee is gonna be wanting to stamp out any badly behaved players quite early on.
Yeah,
Which doesn't really allow for the game to then flow.
no,
If
but
you allow for
it's
the game to flow, that's when it can start to get a bit edgy because you have tackles flying in and things like that. But I mean, I messaged them. I've got a few MK fans, and I messaged most of them, being like, "If you're neutral, it was such a good game of football."
yeah, no, it absolutely was. I really enjoyed it,
yeah,
even as a
we
non-neutral.
get more points. Yeah,
I thought the referee. It was quite frustrating. It did feel like an MK player just had to fall over, and the referee just couldn't wait to give a foul. And even when there was a blatant foul on the Crawley player, he'd take a couple of seconds and he'd go, "Oh," he's almost reluctant to give anything our way, and it felt very, very frustrating that you've got Shamanga, who's not exactly tall, up against their centre backs who are all absolutely massive and much bigger than him, and they'd be putting on his shirt. It'd be 50-50 at best, and they'd fall over and they'd get the foul, or midfielder would fall over and get, and it was so frustrating for a physical team. The MK are a really physical team, and it's like we weren't allowed to try and even match their physicality as a much smaller, much less physical team. And I think that does happen with refereeing, where when there's a bit of a physical mismatch, the smaller team, so to speak, they do get penalised because they're having to try harder to fight for 50-50 balls and win aerial balls, and the referees just seem to kind of overcompensate and punish it, and it was really frustrating. There's a lot of, and I'm always very harsh on referees because I think they're generally the standard of refereeing in the EFL is pretty terrible, but so I know I'm not necessarily the best sort of barometer for whether a referee was having a good performance, but everyone around me was frustrated. And again, I won't repeat what was sung at the referee at full time, but it wasn't complimentary. And so the fact that it wasn't just me, perhaps, I think that might say a lot about how the referee, the way when he chose to blow the final whistle as well. That was bizarre. I thought. I know it was past the 5 minutes, but there'd been a stoppage. We were on the attack. We were just about to put a cross into the box. It felt a very strange time to blow the whistle. But that's not my main issue with the referee, to be honest. But that was notable at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you know my thoughts about people having a go at referees.
I do. I'm trying to be diplomatic.
And I'm always of the thing, like, no referee goes out being like, you know what, today I'm going to favour MK Dons over Crawley Town, because that doesn't do anyone favours. And also, like, if the referee was any good, they wouldn't be refereeing Crawley. It's like players. Like, players make mistakes. If they weren't making mistakes, they wouldn't be playing for Crawley. And also, over the course of the season, it averages out. Like, for example, MK Don fans will be saying that we shouldn't have scored. The referee should have blown for half time because I think we scored in like the 7th minute of injury time, and there's only supposed to be 6 minutes. So yeah, it works both ways. But just kind of conscious of time, let's very quickly touch on Tranmere. Then we'll kind of go on to the off the field stuff, discuss my meeting of the owners, and I like. So just Tranmere, they'll be coming down to the Broadfield Stadium. Tranmere were close to relegation last season from League Two down to the National League. A number of Tranmere fans aren't particularly happy with their owners at the moment. So you've got all of that kind of stuff brewing in the background. They've won one game so far against Shrewsbury, but everyone's beaten Shrewsbury's played Shrewsbury so far. They then drew to they lost on penalties to Burton on Tuesday in the EFL Cup. 1-1 against Gillingham and 1-1 against Colchester. Kind of players to look out for Tranmere, the likes of Charlie Whittaker, who was at previously been at Notts County, and also Amari Patrick as well, who I know has done the rounds around the Football League a fair amount, playing for the likes of Carlisle, Sutton, Burton and Bradford, to name just a few. What are your expectations, Louis? 3 points?
Yeah, it's a must-win game. I think, given next weekend we go to Chesterfield, that'll be a really tough game. They're obviously one of the favourites to go up. Certainly would expect them to be in the top 7. But it won't be an easy game at home to Tranmere because they're only 12. And obviously, a win against Shrewsbury doesn't really tell you a lot. That Shrewsbury are probably performing like a National League North or South side at the moment, and they're probably, that might sound harsh, but I think that's probably the level that they're playing at. I think a lot of conference teams, a lot of National League sides would beat Shrewsbury. But they picked up a draw at Colchester, which isn't an easy place to go, and Colchester are another team. They're very solid, and you'd expect them to be competing for a playoff spot this season, building on finishing just outside the playoffs last year. So that's a really solid point. And then Gillingham have started the season fairly well. And again, they got a point at a point at home to Gillingham, and were only denied 3 points by an injury time equaliser. So they are. It's not going to be an easy game by any means, and I think it's a game where if we don't start well, I can see us kind of really struggling to get into the game. It just has the feeling of one of those games where they're going to be organised. They're going to probably try and frustrate us and just hit us on the counter, and that's perhaps it doesn't sound very complimentary, but I mean it as a compliment because I think that's a really hard thing to do. Go away from home in the Football League, be organised, take your chances, know how and when to hit the opposition in transition on the counter. It could be really a really difficult afternoon. Obviously, a lot depends for us on kind of the team that we're able to put out, because obviously Jay's probably going to be out for we don't know how long, but he picks up what was a pretty bad looking hamstring injury, so we're going to be without Jay Williams for a while. That means opportunities for Max Anderson, which is exciting, because I think he's someone who we'd all like to see a bit more of, and he looks very comfortable against MK on Tuesday, and he's someone who should be a very, very good player at this level.
Yeah.
So it
also sounds like we're going to be having a signing as well.
Yes.
Annoying. I was hoping it would come out before we recorded this podcast, but it doesn't.
It's going to be announced either just after, or it'll be just after we record, or just after you hit publish.
So what's your score prediction then, Louis?
Score prediction? I'll go 2-2. I'm slightly more optimistic after Tuesday night, and I think perhaps we'll have a little bit more attacking threat. But again, I've got kind of a couple of concerns about our ability to hold on to a clean sheet. And I think Tranmere are quite an organised team, and I think they have got a bit of an attacking threat about them.
I'm going to go for 2-1. I think Shamanga's going to score, and I think who do I think the other is going to score is? I think Cashman's going to score.
Cashman. Well, he was unlucky not to score on Tuesday. It was a spectacular. It would have been it's within the first 10 minutes, if I remember rightly. Just really, again, Adiemo down the right, lovely cross to the back post, and Cashman. And he tried it again in the second half. I'm sorry, I don't go back onto the MK game, but seems we're speaking about Cashman scoring. It's almost the exact same thing happened in the second half, but he probably had a bit more time to bring the ball down and actually get a shot off rather than try an overhead kick. But I respect the audacity. But anyway, I like your optimism.
Thank you. I try and be optimistic.
You've got to counteract my pessimism.
So kind of moving then on to the off the field stuff. But before we do, some Reds rollover announcements. So in August, we did our August draw. Chris Cheshire won first prize, and joint second prize was Chris Pash and Tracy Thornton. So congratulations to you both. And then the winner of the yearly draw that we do goes to Mick O'Donnell. So congratulations, Mick.
Congratulations, Mick.
Won decent amount of money. And yeah, congratulations to all winners. So, in the last kind of few minutes then, off the field stuff, we signed Dixon, who looks a good player. One more signing about to come as well before the game, and no doubt we might see one or two others. I was having a look to see what happened to Noah Watson, who was on trial with us.
I wonder if it could be him, because Scott said it.
I thought it was, but he's gone to Aldershot.
Okay.
He signed for Aldershot 5 days ago.
Okay. I've seen a couple of people suggest Nathan Ferguson. Someone saying it's because Scott said it's a midfielder, defender, kind of, quite versatile player.
Yeah, I thought that, but I don't think he's been. He didn't play the last few games of pre-season with us.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
Yeah,
I'd be alarmed because, without any disrespect to Nathan Ferguson, he's not played at League Two level since he left us. I don't think.
No, he's not. And then at the Newport game, I was fortunate enough to meet the owners. So who's I met? I met Raf, I met Ryan, I met Max. So kind of the three people that will be taking the main people behind KB Sports and Leisure, the new owners of Crawley Town Football Club. Raf is going to be doing more of the hard work, as it were, although Ryan and Max will be kind of supporting in the background. They're all great guys. They speak really, really positively, very, very professional as well, which I think is a huge contrast to the previous owners. And one thing they said is they like questions, and they've always said to me that if I ever want to message them, ask them questions, more than able to. I was also able to meet Tom as well. Tom Allman, the new CEO, but all Crawley fans know him. And so kind of going forward, we're going to be arranging to have a monthly meeting with Tom, which even if there's nothing to discuss, we're still going to have an hour in a diary every month to be able to talk about any concerns, issues, progress going forward. I asked about a fans forum as well, and the fans forum will be taking place at some point. I asked about the £1 million of debt that Crawley Town are in, and there was definitely kind of no concerns. They didn't seem concerned at all by it, and they said that they aim to clear it all up, as in clear up what's happening with that debt in the shorter term rather than longer term. It's just they couldn't actually say anything when we were in person, which I think is good. And kind of one of our things now is going to be holding them to account over what they've said, both in regards to fans forums, in regards to what's going to be happening with the debt.
Did they? Sorry, I'm jumping in. Did they give any sort of time frame for a fans forum? Because I know that's something.
No, they said shortly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I should imagine if post my holiday we haven't heard, I'll no doubt be chasing up and pushing again for a fans forum, because I think that's a good way of people being able to meet them, and yeah, I think particularly once this kind of transfer window is finished as well, Scott will be more free, the owners will be more free, to be able to do something like a fans forum. Speaking to Max, because I know not many people really know what he does. So he does tech distribution and works for some big companies like Google, Samsung. And yeah, there's lots of talk about sponsorship and what the direction of sponsorship going forward is, particularly with the location of Gatwick Airport, something that Raf was surprised we've never really utilised, and why we aren't kind of tapping into the Gatwick area. It was good to see us sponsor it using Crown Plaza as a sponsorship. Again, a big hotel nearby that many people stay at. And so it's one of those sponsors that we probably should have done years ago.
Yeah. I've said it probably on the last podcast, but it's amazing what happens when you have people dedicated to actually, when you have a team dedicated to sort of finding those commercial partnerships and making those things happen. It's very strange.
100%. So that was all really positive. What else was there? I think that was really it. To be fair, I know that they spent about six figures improving the stadium, which you've got to remember they don't actually own the stadium.
Mm.
So for them to put in any investment into it is huge, because you're basically investing in something that's it's like you paying for a conservatory in your house, which you rent.
Yeah,
Like there's no real benefit apart from to improve where you're currently playing and improve the fan experience.
yeah, and it does
Um,
look really good. I've got to say,
yeah,
it's
you
a little
should.
bit jarring to see it in sort of a grey black wrap with red on it. It's taken a couple of games for me to get used to, but I think it does look smart. It certainly looks smarter than it did last season. So yeah, and you can see what's nice is you can see where the money's gone. It's obvious where the money's gone. It's obvious that it's improved how the stadium feels, and yeah, it's a really positive start to kind of the infrastructure that needs to be put in place to make us a bigger and better football league club.
Yeah, and just one kind of last thing before we jump into some questions that our viewers, listeners have sent in. RK Leisure, who is Raf's one of Raf's businesses that he does with Max. You might see their sponsorship around the stadium a bit. It's on the top of the dugouts. I think also in the dugouts as well. So it's a fishing company. So if anyone fancies some fishing at one of their 11 different fishing lakes in Surrey, Berkshire, and Bedfordshire,
Sounds
then
very idyllic.
it does. It does. Because yeah, apparently Raf and Max are very big fishers.
Can they fish some new signings out for us? Is that I was trying to think of some sort of yeah, it's not my best work, but I was trying to think of some really tenuous
so,
link to transfers and
so just going through some questions, and Stephen has said, do the club intend to hold fans forum? Yes, they do. Dan Palmer has asked for CTSA members who can't listen to this be receiving an email of the stuff you'll be speaking about. Yes, they hopefully will at some point. We'd aimed to have done this podcast last week and updated everyone because I think it's better over video rather than over email. I'm conscious not everyone does it, but for a multitude of reasons, we weren't able to do it last week. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why there's been a delay in kind of getting it all out. Because at the moment, this podcast is our main kind of way of being able to broadcast material out to our members. That's mainly due to capacity. So if anyone fancies joining the CTSA board and doing some comm stuff, then please do get in touch. We'd be more than happy to have some discussions. So even if you just want to get involved doing anything else, you're more than welcome to. Matt Townsend said, where do you see us finishing after the first four league games? Well, technically, after the first four league games, I think we will finish not 21st, 22nd. But if he means finish after the end of the season, we just imagine what he's pointing to. I think mid-table.
yeah, I think I mean again I might feel very differently when we come to record next week after the Tranmere game. But I think right now it's just because I think the squad feels a little bit thin, just because I think we're still yet to really have a statement result. We're still looking a little bit shaky at the back. I would take anything between sort of 22nd and 18th. I struggle to see us finishing too far above the relegation zone right now. But it's still very early days. The team, it may be strengthened. It looks like it will be strengthened. How much stronger it will get, we've got no idea at the moment. But yeah, I'm probably a little bit more optimistic than I was after the Crew game, where I was pretty certain we'd be one of the two teams going down. But I don't think we've improved that much. I mean, I don't know actually. I was very kind of strong in my praise about our performance against MK, and that has to be the standard now. To be fair, if we can keep up that standard of performance, we will be more than okay. But I think I just have doubts over whether we can consistently or even regularly enough deliver those kind of performances. But we'll see. I've been wrong before. I'm wrong all the time, so we will see. And I sincerely hope that carry on that sort of trajectory, we'll be more than all right. But I just think I still got a lot of doubts about the strength of the squad, and not necessarily if we have our strongest 11 out on the pitch, that's a different story. But I think how often we can get that strongest 11, and when we're not able to get that strongest 11 out, what does the team look like? And kind of that question about the strength in depth, which I think might kind of be our undoing at times this season.
Yeah, and just a final question from Matt Adenall. Do they intend to keep Wagme recruit Tobias Phoenix in post long term, or will they recruit their own man that has something like a proven track record in the role required, unlike Tobias? I don't know. That wasn't a question that I asked. Although I did ask about making sure that the role of whatever Tobias does is clearer. For example, he still doesn't appear on the club directory. And so again, kind of post in a week or two's time, and nothing's happened. And again, this will be something that the CTSA will be pushing for that kind of honesty and transparency from the ownership group, and about what kind of Tobias' role actually is day to day. But I from seeing Tobias, seeing how much Tobias is featured when that takeover got done, I don't think Tobias will be departing at all.
I would be surprised, especially considering how much Scott has bigged him up as well, and how how he was very much at the forefront of all the media and everything that the club put out around that time. I'd be surprised.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much, Louie, for joining me.
Absolute pleasure as always.
And yeah, let's hope we can get 3 points against Tranmere. So come on, you Reds.
Indeed. See you all on Saturday. Come on, you Reds.